Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Future Space. I'm your host, Daniel Fox. Our guest today is Dr. Soyeon Yi. Dr. Yi is South Korea's first and only astronaut. In December 2006, Dr. Yi emerged victorious from a pool of over 36,000 candidates to become South Korea's first astronaut. On April 8, 2008, she embarked on an 11-day mission to the International Space Station on board the Russian Soyuz. During a groundbreaking mission, Dr. Yi conducted numerous experiments that later contributed to South Korea's science textbooks and television lectures. Her return to Earth on April 19th was quite dramatic. She endured a challenging ballistic re-entry, experiencing gravitational forces of 8 Gs and a very bumpy landing 260 miles off course in the middle of the Kazakhstan steppes. She, along with crewmate Peggy Whitson and Yuri Malenchenko, found themselves being greeted by nomads instead of the proper landing crew. Dr. Yi's career has been marked by significant contribution to both business and education. She has held multiple leadership roles and is currently an advisor for BORYUNG, a South Korean healthcare and space investment company. Dr. Yi, welcome to the Future Space.
Hello, yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
Dr. Yi, what would be 3 words that for you capture the essence of space?
For me, always thinking about the space is here and there. So those 2 words are kind of essence of the space. We are living in space. So here is the space, even if everybody believes it's too far away. And also there, so because it's huge, we cannot see the limit yet. It's a kind of there, far, far, far away. And also space is everything because we have everything in the space.
Were you always a space geek or space fan? Did you always look up to the skies and thought, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do?
Frankly speaking, never before becoming an astronaut. Yeah, I was not the kid who look up the sky. It was luxury to me. It's more like the doing my homework and focus on the whatever I'm doing. And then I feel like somebody just looking up to the sky in the middle of the night and doing nothing doesn't look kind of cool. Oh, they had a lot of time. And then counting the stars and reading the what stars and what, and then kind of formations and how far it is. It's not my interest at all even. And then even when I applied for an astronaut, I didn't dream about to being in space or kind of idolize about the space kind of thing. I thought it's kind of interesting project.
So how did that manifest itself? Was there, you were in South Korea and then the country decides to create a space program and opportunity. Did you look at it and said, yes, I want to do that? Or it was your friend or your family who pushed you to do it, inspired you to do it?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. I grew up in Korea around the 1980 and 90. At the time, when I was a kid, we even didn't have a space agency or any space research institution because we were so poor. And then it's a kind of 200th country in economy under the UN registration. So we didn't have that kind of thing. So I couldn't have any chance to learn about the space. But in my PhD program, I learned that Korean government tried to pick at least 1 person to send to the space. And at the time, they had a well-established satellite program, and they about to start the rocket program. And I felt like they really need an ambassador to explain about all those kind of space program to the general public rather than to start the human space flight project. So it's a little bit different intention. So many of the Korean public, including me, we cannot understand what's going on and why they do and what kind of people will be an astronaut. And I was not the fan of the Star Wars and Star Trek when I was a kid. So I had no ideas of the image of commanders and astronauts and just wonder what they want to do and what kind of people will be in space. And also they write really simple words. Should it be healthy? Should it be a Korean citizen? And should it be kind of intelligent, educated enough? It's very broad and kind of blurred qualification. Everybody believes they are healthy even until they got some diagnosis. And everybody believes they know everything most of the time. So it's not objective thing. So we all wonder about what they means and what they really want to pick it up. And of course, some of the Korean people are very cynical, including my friends, and they might not do it until the end. They just want to catch the public's reaction. And some of my friends said that. But yeah, many of my friends just looking at me and then you are working out every day and you are relatively healthier than any other geeky, nerdy engineering students in Korea. And intelligent enough because you are in a PhD program in a quite high rank Korean engineering school. So maybe you can be the good candidate. And then I asked them back, how about you? And he said, I'm in the middle of the military service, I cannot do any other thing. And some of other my friends, I have a kids and wife. I should get a job as soon as possible after my PhD. So we're just joking around and we've never been serious. But on the opening day, an application opening date, that conversation reminded me of the applying and feels a little bit strange. I feel like maybe I can try and then maybe I can check it out if I'm a good candidate or not. It's just a curiosity. Am I really good candidate, as they said, or not?
Obviously, you were, because out of the 36,000, there was a few applications that made it through. There were two, and then the other one had to let go, and you ended up going up in the rocket. Share with us that experience of you finding yourself strapped to a seat on top of a basically cylinder filled of fuel and now heading for space or heading for low
Yeah,
orbit.
I still remember that time. And then still at the time, we all three cannot believe that it's the real. Because we all three has a story. And first of all, my commander, Sergei Volkov, I went up with him. Still, he is a good friend of mine and good brother of mine kind of thing. And he had a really interesting story during the preparation in Kazakhstan, I got to know. And he showed me one mission patch, 10, 20 years ago mission patch. And he pointed out the big, huge sun on the mission patch. One third of the part of the mission patch was the sun. So, oh, that big sun on the mission patch. And he said that, so do you know what was in here behind the sun? And originally this mission patch doesn't have a sun. And what do you mean? And he said that there was my name. Really? And he said that I was assigned for this mission long time ago. Because of the budget issue, they take it off one person. So instead of the three, only two cosmonauts fly in Soyuz. He was the youngest among them. At the time, he was the youngest cosmonaut who assigned for the real mission. So he was the first candidate to eliminate. So he couldn't fly. So he should have been all the way back to the line and takes us several years. So he's a kind of middle-aged first rookie cosmonaut at the time. And then he said that I cannot believe I'm here to fly with you because I already had a really set time to erase my name. And there was really, really interesting story to hear from him by himself. And then after for a while, Oleg Kononenko, he's my flight engineer, and he told me too. I was in US and training for the shuttle, but at some point, whole foreign flight participant under the shuttle should get back to their own country because of some accident. So he needed to be all the way back to the line of the Soyuz mission. So his flight became a little bit later than other his classmates. And my case is, I was originally backup 6 months ago. And I supposed not to fly in space. And my male colleague was the primary. But month and a half ago, I became the primary and changed it. And over there. So all three of us had a story to come here. A little bit interesting story. And oh my God, that was really overwhelmed. And we buckled and then we wait for the time. And 30, 40 minutes ago, Sergei's spacesuit was blown up. And, inside of the Soyuz. And we all look at each other. Maybe we all are not the person who is supposed not to fly. That's because we keep blocked by something. But we three, all of us agreed that we cannot give up. So we checked out Sergei's suit again and opened the emergency kit and tied him around spacesuit and roped it out. Luckily, that suit was functionally well, but only looks bumpy. So pressurized was totally okay, but a little bit blow up. So we checked it again and again and again. Even mission control didn't ask us, didn't recommend us after the reporting that problem. But we feel so weird. Is it really our destiny not to fly, or can we make it happen? And then we were so aggressive to make it happen. We cannot give up. And all three of us look at each other, and then we all agree each other without saying anything. So I still remember that time. Yeah, we were so desperate.
Peggy Whitson came back with you when you landed. So Sergey
Yeah, so
stayed.
most of the flight participant in that kind of program is we went up with a new crew and come out with old crew. So my 11 days was a transition time between the new crew and old crews.
Dr. Yi, what is for you the human story of space?
My human story is though we all are same human wherever you are, and what kind of job we have, and what kind of mission we are doing. Because as the Korean astronaut, we are not a partner of the ISS project, so we were the guest. And I was not a Russian citizen, so kind of like under the Russian program, but I'm a stranger and or kind of alien from them. So kind of interesting position over there. Not belong to the NASA, not belong to the Roscosmos. But I can feel that they don't care about it. We are all same human. And we all help each other because on the ground, every single country has a kind of diplomatic problem. So my government is arguing with NASA officials and Roscosmos official cause of something happened and cause of some limitation. And Roscosmos and NASA also have own kind of tension and kind of like that. But as an astronaut who has a mission up there, and we always have a boundary between the life and death, and we are all same human. We've never cared about where we are from. We've never cared about what kind of gender we have, and then how old we are. And that was very interesting observation and human story I've observed. And then you know what? As the person who only had a 1 year training and only have 11 days flight, I feel like I'm a dust compared with the Peggy and compared with the Yuri Malenchenko because they trained more than 10 years and then visited the space several times and they are like a hero all above the sky. But they respect me as a human and astronaut, same astronaut, and it helped me a lot taking care of sometimes like a daughter, sometimes like a little sister, baby sister. And it is really, really kind of lovely moment I had. And sometimes I feel so careful because some of the experiment I had might disturb other astronauts' mission or their life. And then most of the time, my homework ends 2, 3 hours later theirs because the Korean government doesn't have enough experience. They cannot anticipate the schedule. So it takes a longer than we planned. And I feel so scared to bother them or they might mad at me or they might uncomfortable with my action. But they always come to me, so what we can do. Let's finish as soon as possible and let's take a rest together. And in the middle of the dinner time, always I was busy with my experiment. All others are gathered for the dinner. I cannot make it. And they all fly to me and then, what should we do? Let's finish it and then have a dinner together. So that was very interesting observation. And I every day I heard my officials with the radio communication. So you should be careful to this, and then NASA official doesn't like this, and Roscosmos warn us, kind of like that. But no other astronaut talk about that thing. They don't care about it, and we all are comrade. Kind of love field.
I want to go back to the landing. I want you to tell us, obviously, how the physicality of something not going according to plan. But before we go there, being it could be a political answer, but when you came back, did you feel Korea's support into what to do now that you've been to low orbit and coming back? Was there a plan for the continuation of the space program? How effective that structure was?
Unfortunately, they didn't have a long-term plan for the human space flight before and also after. But there was a little bit political background happening because the administration who planned for the astronaut program in Korea very first time in the history was over. And they planned to finish all of that before that administration is over. So I supposed to fly 6 months ahead. But some kind of documentation and administration work was happening. So 6 months delayed, and then Malaysian astronaut fly 6 months before. So our order changed because of some admin work. So I flew on April, but new president inauguration happened in the January. So the person who packed and put the budgets and everything were all resigned, and new administration came in because it's a major party was changed. So like in US, like Obama planned, but Trump made it kind of things situation. So those new administration doesn't want to continue the former administration's quite well-known and popular outcome. So even less willingness to continue this kind of program. So that made people who working on this project feel so hard and strange because it's harder to secure the budget even for the analysis, the data bring the experiment after my flight. I don't want to blame anybody because it was just happening and then nobody planned for that. But more harder thing to me, oh my God, it was already 17 years ago. I was a 29 years old and little baby, little girl. When I look at the 29 years old girl outside, oh my God, such a little girl, and then she can do this kind of thing. But at that time, I believe I'm grown up and an adult. So I was way more aggressive and then mad at that. How can you just abandon this experiment? But now I look back that kind of situation, nobody's fault. It cannot help it. It just happened. Sometimes I feel kind of bad for the Rose Cosmos, they just push us to 6 months later kind of thing. But that was also, it's not their bad intention, just happened. That was the most toughest situation and part I should have faced after my flight. And also, it's very bureaucratic and government workers' reaction when I had an accident also. Because I expected that everybody think, oh my God, even if the accident, you made it out and you trained really well. So you just go through that. And that was my expectation people react. But many of the Korean government workers, they feel like we should hide the failure. It's a national program, so it doesn't have any pitfall, any scratch. It should be perfect. So they didn't talk about real things much. They just make the overall as it is the successful mission we've done and it's over. So everybody tried to make it just over, not continuous. That's the really sad part. A lot of the young people who love the space, and of course, among my friends in engineering school, so many friends of mine that dream to be the rocket scientist and then flight engineers, kind of like a job because Korea became already kind of a developed country. I'm the only person who is not interested in space. So they always said that it's not fair. You became an astronaut. We cannot go there. But I feel so bad for them also because government doesn't have a plan for that. But hopefully they will have again. But even until now, there's not that much huge intention and willingness yet. But hopefully, I believe they will have another plan, and I would love to help them and support them and do my best to make it happen again.
So there's no path right now for a Korean to become an astronaut other than, let's say, going to another country, whether the US or Europe, and then becoming an astronaut.
Yeah, right. And then even through the other country, government doesn't have any clear plan yet.
You mentioned the accident. So take us through the exactly what happened on the way down. Was it a series of events or was something that could have been foreseen? But what happened for you and Peggy and Malenchenko to end up landing in the middle of Kazakhstan and I guess amongst the sheep and just opening the hatch and realize you guys are in the wrong place?
Yeah, definitely. Because both Peggy and Yuri already had experience with the flying with the Soyuz, especially Yuri's. It was kind of third or kind of thing. So, but anyway, in the middle of the re-entry, at some point, we realized there's something going wrong. Of course, in the midway, we thought, oh, everything looks okay. Even screen said that everything's going well. And right after the separation of the capsule, because the Soyuz capsule has a three compartment, both the top one and bottom one should be separated. Only in the middle, descent module should come down. If you come to the Museum of Flight, you can see the descent module. It's displayed over there, thanks to the ceremonial. And that should be separated. But interesting thing is, on the monitor, they said we had a successful separation. But right after having that words, something going on. And then through the window, I see some sparkles. But it was very interesting after getting through all of that is during my training as a backup, my backup commander was the Maxim Straev. He was the most hilarious cosmonaut. Everybody knows that. He's very hilarious. He's kind of like a character, George Clooney character in a movie Gravity, always joking around. And whenever we had a separation training, and right after having the words successfully separated, he always waved the hands through the window and bye, habitation module, and then he waves. And one day I just wonder, Max, can I see the separated habitation modules through the window? Because you waved the hands to that. And he said it takes a long time to explain everything. So you should wait after all the training is over. So after training is over, he bring me to the whiteboard and then drew all the trajectories and physics and everything. He shows me after the separation where the each part goes and where the descent module goes. And he told me like, if you see anything through the window after separation happened, you fucked up. So it's impossible to see anything. So I clearly remember that. And then I'm so grateful to be a backup because only a backup crew can have those extra energy to explain detail after the training. Because most of the primary crew, they are so stressed and they focus on the real mission in a month or two. They don't have any extra energy to teach the rookie people like me. But on real mission, I saw something through the window. I still remember Max laugh at me. If you see anything through the window, it will be the huge problem. But I see something. So I told Yuri, I think I see something through the window. Because commander cannot see through the window at all. It's all packed up and windows right next to my ears. I can only see. And Yuri is the very old and experienced astronaut. And he told me like, Soyeon, it's a hallucination. You are way too excited. It shouldn't be seen anything through the window. And I told him, I know, I learned, but something sparkled outside. And he said, no, it's not. But several seconds later or something, and then Peggy said, oh fuck, something outside. Because Peggy is a left kid. She has a window also right next to her. But Yuri can say to me, it's a hallucination, but Yuri cannot say to the Peggy, it's a hallucination. So Peggy said, oh my God, something going on. And then right away, we got the red alarm and automatically changed it to the ballistic reentry. And we all knows there's something going on. And then I told Peggy, I feel more G than the 3. And at the very first time, Peggy said, no, it's not because you are from the zero gravity. So even same 3G feels more like that. But after 4, Peggy said, Soyeon, you are right. It's much higher than the 3G. So we learned how to handle when we had automatic ballistic reentry. And then we were so busy to be scared to follow the red manual. It's a manual of the ballistic reentry and a manual of the emergency happening. The cover is the red. So I still remember. And then we bring it up. All three of us has the same manual on the lab. And we follow the process and finally touchdown. And the normal protocol is we should wait until the search and rescue team knock the hatch. And then they open for us and then drag us out of the capsule. So we wait and wait and wait. And then longer than 30 minutes, nobody knock us. Cannot hear anything. And Yuri told me, Soyeon, we better get out of by ourselves. But I was on the bottom and Yuri was the side. And Peggy was dangling because our capsule was laid down on the side. And Yuri told Peggy, sorry, we cannot help you because we are so tired. Because right after landing, most of the astronauts feel so tired because we are accustomed to have a zero gravity. 1G feels so heavy. So it's even harder to move our own body. So Yuri told me like, Soyeon, I will unbuckle and open the hatch because I know how to do that, and you will follow me. And I asked, how about Peggy? Sorry, Peggy, we can help you. We will find a help to let you down. Because somebody should support whole Peggy's body to open the buckle. Without that, Peggy will fall down. That was the situation we getting out. But thank God, nomad people who've never seen the Soyuz capsule, they were watching us from the distance. Because we still have a fire outside of the capsule. Thank God that doesn't burn up the thread of the parachute. That's why we have a successful landing, but still have a fire on the capsule. And that burned the grass, all of the step, and so almost around several hundred meters. So huge smoke. So those nomads cannot ignore us because huge smokes and a big huge black rocks from the sky, and open the hatch and little creatures that crawl out. They cannot stand up, they just keep crawling because we cannot stand up still. It's so dizzy. And they just watching us from the distance. And then Yuri bravely going to them. Thank God, one old gentleman among them can speak little minimum of the Russian language. Maybe around the Soviet Union he might learn, but all of them doesn't have a Russian language. And then we asked them help. And some of the young guys came in and support the Peggy, and Yuri unbuckle and then bring the Peggy out, and they helped us a lot.
Because obviously you landed and there's no indication that you're 260 miles away. There's no iPhone or the map. It's like, I think we're a little bit off course. So can you explain the physics, or like exactly what happened when you noticed what was happening outside the window that made the trajectory change by a few degrees, and then you guys landed so far away?
So actually on exactly that time inside, it's hard to know something going on outside because we are locked in the desert capsule. We learned from the investigation team, accident investigation team, a week later landing. And it is a tradition. Whatever accident happened, investigation team to report to the crew first without having any other people, and then report to the high official, and then report to the general public. So we were small little room and heard about it for an hour or two. And for sure, we realized that habitation module doesn't separate it fully. So there's a 4 pyrobolt should blow up to take the habitation module out, but only 2 works. Another 2 doesn't blow up. So like a hinge, habitation module keep attaching to us and moving around. And those habitation module is really heavy because on the way back, they put all the trash in there because it's all burnt out. So it's a fully packed and loaded habitation module should be separated, but it's not. Physically, the bottom of the descent module has a really thick composite metal as a heat shield. So it shields the heat around the several thousand degrees Celsius outside with the cause of the friction with the air. But the habitation module is even heavier than that. So we coming down upside down. That makes the whole the trajectory change it. And then computer realized that we are not in a normal position and automatically change to the ballistic reentry. Those habitation module burning below us because it's not the heat shield. So burning and burning and burning. But luckily, when the first parachute deployed, it has a huge drag force, and that made us again upside down and then coming down the right position. If that deployment was not successful or burning the thread with the fire outside, then we cannot be survived. According to the investigation team, if I remember correct, we beat the several second window between the death and life.
Incredible. Obviously, the heat shield is there for a reason, and if you're falling down the other way, then this is gonna burn through.
Yeah, so half of our hatch burnt. So if the deployment was just several seconds later, all the hatch burnt out, and we cannot even have any painful anything. Just in a second, we all gone.
Did Malenchenko said to you, maybe I should have listened to you the first time that you
But it doesn't have any difference. So there's nothing we can do, during that time, Another thing in series happened because all those kind of process make our capsule wobbles and shaky more than before. So at some point, we thought everything's over because parachute deployed and we get back upside down back, and we realized that we were coming down anyhow, and second parachute open. So we thought it's over. But suddenly some smoke comes up inside, and we thought it's a smoke because it looks like smoke. So Yuri turned off all the power, because whenever you have a fire, you should turn off all the power of the house. That's the regular reaction of everybody, not to make the fire bigger. So he turned off the power. But when you turn off all the power, problem is you cannot have any radio communication with the MCC. And after for a while, we wait for the smoke's gone, but it doesn't gone at all. But I feel like there's no smoke. So I told Peggy and Yuri, I cannot see any smoke. And Peggy said, because you are in the smoke. Really? Smoke is around me? And Peggy said, yeah, I'm the only person outside, and Yuri is too close to you. And really? And I tried to find the source of the smoke, and there was under the dashboard in front of me. But when our shock absorber is activated, our face is right in front of the board, so you cannot look down to the board well. But my body is relatively smaller than other astronauts, so squeeze myself and then look down to the board. I saw that some kind of smoke-like things coming out to the steel pipe, so metal pipe, and it was frozen. So I told Peggy and Yuri, oh, it's coming from the frozen pipe. It shouldn't be the smoke because it is frozen. And then Yuri asked me, are you sure? Yes, indeed, because my PhD program, whole program, has happened in the clean room. We always treat with those metal tube with liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen. I cannot believe it. I explained this in Russian at the time. I forgot all of the Russian language, but I explained as much as possible. And he said, are you sure? Are you sure? If it is really smoke, once I turn on the power, we will all blow up. So we should be careful. Now I understand why Yuri was so cynical and critic to me, but at the time I feel a little bit disappointed. I'm the PhD. I know this very well, but he didn't listen to me, and I just keep talking to him. Yeah, I can see that. I can see the frozen pipe, and then definitely it's not the smoke. And then he asked me, "Can you swear in the name of your mom and with the name of your God?" And I said, "Of course." And he said, "Okay, I trust you." And then turn on the power, nothing happened. See? But it was way too late. Already antenna outside is all burnt because of the we were upside down. So no matter what we did, communication is all gone, and then MCC just lost us. But we had that small little incident inside. That was really grateful moment. After the investigation things happened, and then we were in a kind of prophylactory rehab modules, and then we got a physicians who take care of us and checking out our medical for a week or two. And then one day, in the middle of the breakfast, Yuri came to me and said, after the breakfast, can you have a moment to talk to me privately? And I feel a little bit scared because he's not the comfort person. He always stiff and serious. He's a very typical Russian military guy, never speak more than necessary, never smile kind of guy. So I feel sometimes scared of him. But he told me we should talk. Okay. And I followed him and sit on the certain corner, and he told me, I would love to say sorry to you. What? For what? And he said, I didn't trust right away when you talk about the smoke thing. And I thought like, because there was a rumor in Russia, you were picked because you are pretty, not because you are intelligent or educated. It's because the Russian standard of the beauty and pretty is different than in Korea. No Korean think I'm the prettiest woman, but Russian military base, maybe. So he said, I didn't trust your degree. Maybe it would be like a fake degree or something. But now I got to know you are the real engineer. And I'm so sorry that I didn't listen to you. And you saved us. But instead things should be the privately, separately, not in front of the other people. But anyway, that was the biggest action he can do to me, to the young rookie cosmonaut in 20. I feel so grateful because he doesn't have to. And then even if he didn't say anything to me, it doesn't make any problem to him. But he tried to be authentic and he tried to be respectful to me. That moment was the biggest moment in the time I was in Russia, because even that veteran cosmonaut told me I was right and start respecting me, and that was an incredible moment.
How was the coming back when you come so close to an event such like this, where it could have easily gone one way or the other, right? There's the control that you can have on these situations to get you out of it, and then there's just the rest that is out there, luck, unluck. What was your journey of processing that experience in the weeks and the months that followed your landing?
You know what? I couldn't look back and think about the meaning of that kind of space flight right after the flight, especially when I after getting back to Korea, because my life is totally changed up and down. Because when I went to Russia, I was just one of the PhD candidate students. Nobody knows me. Even I was picked as a final two. Not that many Korean people knows about it, not interested in it, and it's just kind of under the ministry of science and technology things, a boring engineering thing. Not that many people are interested in. But when I was up in space station, we had a live TV show, interview with the president. Suddenly, everybody's interested in. And after getting back to Korea, according to the Korean government, 99.9% of the Korean people recognize my face and know my names and who's the first Korean astronaut at the time. Nowadays, not much. And everybody treat me differently. Half of them hate me without having any reason. And I've never expecting that kind of lifestyle because I've never dreamed to be a celebrity or idols. I've never dreamed to be an actress or a singer. So that made my life so miserable because I don't know how to react. And even if I try to respond well, some people misunderstand totally differently, and some fake articles about my life, even if somebody doesn't know about my life at all, they write down the article, kind of pretending they know me very well. After 2, 3 years, and then for me, it's just kind of real battle life and cannot think of anything. And also, I really want to take care of the experiment I brought up and helping the researchers who are struggling to get the result because I thought and believe I should fight for them as a person and a robot who controlled me to do that experiment. But now I'm looking at back and kind of like that. I'm so grateful. Anyway, I became the first Korean citizen who would be in space. And there's nothing is really good without paying anything. Whatever good thing, you should pay for it. Either money or energy or time or hope or anything. So I thought like, oh my God, I became an astronaut without paying anything, and all those kind of hard time might be the post payment or something. So I should handle it. And that was very interesting life trajectory after my space flight. And I had no idea about the political thing because I was very ignorant engineer, doesn't care about the I even don't know who is the president. I was stuck in the lab. And some of my friends joined the campaign or something. I thought, oh my God, you guys have a lot of time to waste in the political action. At the time, I don't care. I thought it's a luxury. But getting through all those time, I learned a lot. What is the country? And what is the administration? What is the government? Because as the normal person, all mixed up. We mixed up we cannot distinguish between the country, administration, government, and we all mixed up. But getting through that time, I realized that what political action do, what politicians' job, and what is the country I love, what is the government work for the citizens, what is the administration keep changing. So it's not the same with the country, but we always confused. I learned the basic things after the space flight, even if I learned in a primary school. I only took the exam, never thinking about the real meaning. But we all do. We all do take the exam and learn about the political system, but we never take it as a serious until we have a problem with it anytime. So yeah, I learned a lot.
I hear a lot of humility in your answers and the way that you look back, and even the way that you talk about, your experiences of going back to Korea and facing all this adversity. Did you grow up with these values being taught to you, humility or the necessity to be able to look at it without too much judgment originally? How much of your upbringing kind of define your relationship with that adversity?
I think I learned from my family for a long time. And thankfully, I grew up in a low income bracket neighborhood. So whenever the summer comes and typhoon comes, everybody's house is submerged under the water, and we should work together. We should fight against the water together. Even if we are not a family, but more than 100 households, we should work together, and we should save each other's kids, and we should bring the food to totally strange people, and we grow up in that kind of community. And then I still remember that my mom bought a new school uniform to the total strange girl who live with the old grandma, just two of them. And then they got only have a welfare money, but it's really small. And my sister complained about it. Mom, I should have an old uniform from the older sister for me. I grew up and then get small and then give my sisters, and she always have a used one, never had a new one. And she complained that, Mom, you don't have a money to buy new one to me, but you have a money for the total strange girl over there. And then she complained about it. And then Mom asked my sister, if you can make a choice, do you want to live with your mom or you want to live with only grandma and new school uniform? And then my sister cannot answer it. Yeah, because she only go to the new uniform without having family kind of thing. So my mom and dad always teaching us value of the human. And we should work together. And we should be humble to help others. You better not judgmental to anyone because every human being is the same value of life and we all are precious life on the earth kind of thing. They never preach about that. They never talk about it, but they teach me with their behavior and action. So we grew up like that. Frankly speaking, one of my friends, she came to me after a while. I know why you picked as a final candidate. And then I know why you are so lucky to be the one out of 36,000 because I'm totally agree that I was lucky. If they pick the 1,000 out of the 36,000, those all thousands are qualified and educated kind of thing. But if they pick the one out of 36,000, then among the qualified 1,000 to be the only one, you should have a luck actually. So I admit. And she said, because your mom and dad was so good person, so God paid back for you instead of them. Maybe.
Did you ever think of, after, even when you moved to the US, did you think of following up in going back to the space or continuing your training or your career as an astronaut?
Of course. Frankly speaking, right after flight, I had a really adversity and a hard time, the life I've never dreamed about. I almost kind of regret to be an astronaut. Yeah, almost, not completely. But at some point, I realized that I cannot help being leave as an astronaut all my life. And sometimes I try to get a totally different job, and sometimes I just try to forget about the space because being an astronaut makes my life so miserable at some point. But now I feel like I should leave with astronaut Soyeon. So it should have a balance between as a personal and person as a Soyeon and astronaut Soyeon and a historic feature of the Korea Soyeon. And first Korean astronaut Soyeon, I cannot abandon that. Anyway, it will keep following me until the death. So nowadays, I'm doing my best to do my own roles and responsibility as a first Korean astronaut, even if I'm living outside of the Korea. And sometimes living outside of the Korea helped me a lot. Be more neutral, not be distracted by the noise, but also in the same time, not as a Korean, but also as a Earthian, I really want to help all the people who dream to be an astronaut because I agree with my friends, it's unfair to be an astronaut for me because I've never dreamed about it. So I should pay back to help others who really want to be an astronaut, I think, and then make them get their own education, make them know what it's like, even if they've never been there. That's why I joined this podcast because I believe one of my lifelong job is sharing my experience as much as possible. At some point, I think I did enough because more than 500,000 speaking engagement and travel around the world, I think it's enough. But no matter how many people I met, still, there's more people who've never listened to me before. So it's not over. It cannot be over. Yeah.
So, what would be your 3 words of wisdom?
I rather say be grateful for everything we have. It's a little bit more than the 3 words because whatever we have, we should be grateful for having it. Even if we believe it's not good enough, even if it's sometimes miserable to us. Anyway, that's the thing formed our life, and that's the thing make our life beautiful and valuable and precious. So for an hour, I talked about it. Being an astronaut is good part and bad part, hard part and fun part and exciting part and miserable part. It all together. It should be all together to make something happen. So yeah, sometimes you hate the place you were born, but that's your hometown and that's where you are from, no matter what. And we should be grateful for that. And sometimes we hate our own country, but thinking about the people who are now refugee doesn't have a country at all. Even they don't have a country to hate. And sometimes you hate your schools or jobs or company. So at some point I realized that if you are start complaining, it means you have something. Because if you don't have anything, there's nothing you complain. So I always have it exemplified with my marriage life, because when I became an astronaut, my cousin, he's the best friend of my life in whole my life still now. He called me and Soyeon, congratulations. Oh yeah, did you watch the TV? Yes. And we talked and he said that then now you should give up the marriage. And what? Soyeon, officially you became the most aggressive woman in Korea. How can you date with a guy? You beat over even guy. Oh yeah, you're right. Because he always laughed at me, and whenever I ask him, "Can you introduce your friends to me as a blind date or something?" And then my cousin said that, "Soyeon, if you are in a girls' college, I can introduce you as a smart girl. But you are in an engineering school. You are almost like an alien among my friends." So he always straightforwarded to me, and he told me like, "You should give up marriage. Now on, nobody want you as a girlfriend or wife." And I feel it. I was the church choir member. And whenever I went to the practice, all of the old ladies, they tried to binding me to their son, like, "Oh my son, do you have a boy? And then, do you see any other boy?" Kind of like, "I have a 25 years old boy, and then do you want to meet him?" Kind of like that. But once I became an astronaut, no one talked about it. They don't want me to as a daughter-in-law. And they start talking about me like, "Son, your mom should be so proud of you." And yes, but that's the all. And then even my mom told me like, "So I'm so proud of you, but I don't want my son bring the daughter-in-law like you because you are too busy and too aggressive and bossy and kind of like that." So I should give up. But after moving into US, the boyfriend, now my husband, he had no idea who I am. Because he grew up in US. He doesn't care about the Korean news. And then we dated each other and then married. And then finally, all my friends are excited. "Oh my God, you find a guy who dared to marry you," kind of thing. But finally, I got a husband. The thing I thought is impossible. How grateful it is. But every day I have more than 100 complain about him. And he never put the socks on the basket. He never showered before I ask. And there's all that kind of thing. And then one day I thought, yeah, that's the evidence that I have a husband. That's complaining. We always forget about the things we should be grateful, but I think we should keep reminding of us to be grateful for everything we have. Anything, airs and gravity, anything.
Even more so in times like this, we're so, like you said, we're so quick to forget what we have. I'm an immigrant, come from Canada, you're an immigrant, and people are always surprised when they say that I actually prefer living in the States than Canada because they think of Canada as this paradise. And I've lived in several countries, and I always tell them that, listen, first of all, there are no places that are better than others. You have places that fit you or don't fit you, and then they can fit you at different times of your life. Places where you're young are not necessarily the same places when you get older. The US, as much as we can complain about it, is a very dynamic ecosystem. You can find the best of everything, and then you can find the worst of everything. And when it works, it's a moonshot. There's no other places in the world that can deliver when it decides to deliver. When it doesn't, it's a shit show. It's all over the place. And every 30 or 40 years, it goes through this profound transformation where all these things that they fought for are now being taken for granted and being abused, and it wakes people up. And hopefully you hope that the system in place will allow everything to become better, which so far that's the history of the States. They've gone through these transformation, an extremely violent past, but ultimately it always came through better. And that for me, this is when you're in it, it's complicated, but there's a beauty to it. And I'm always quick to remind people of the luxury they take for granted being in a country where you can't speak up your mind. It's hard. The relationship is hard. Marriage is hard. Careers are hard if you want to make it work. It's been an amazing conversation. I'm so glad that we got to connect. You have such a humility, a way of looking at your experience, and I really hope that you continue to share the story because it needs to. In these moments where not only we have challenges at home and around us, but we also have these new frontiers that are opening to us. We need to have this conversation that brings us together more than separates us. So carry on. It's an amazing, and I'm really glad that we finally made this conversation happen.
Me too. Me too. Thank you so much for kind of giving me opportunity to share.
Excellent. Well, we'll see each other soon. I mean, we're not too far,
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward. Thank you so much, Soyeon.
Thank you.